tried to tell you? Where were you when we tried to care? Off over in left field somewhere, right where they wanted you. No, not here, but over there. Deception and lies.
I have to leave it to God, you know, and I know what prison's like.
Interesting. So if it were me, someone kidnapped my daughter, I would say I want to roast them. But listen to how A, Don doesn't say that right away, and B, which is odd, he actually personalizes it. So when they ask, should the person who took your daughter go to prison, he starts speaking about himself. So he's projecting himself onto the person who might go to prison for abducting and potentially killing Summer, which is very strange, very bizarre, and potentially very revealing. When he pictures the person who killed Summer, he pictures himself.
What do you think should happen?
I have to leave it to God, you know, and I know what prison's like. And I have mercy for anybody who's in prison.
I have mercy on anybody who is in prison. That's strange. That's not what we'd expect from the parent of a little girl who's been kidnapped. Like he says, he says he knows she was kidnapped by a stranger. But now when it comes time to discuss the punishment of that person, he has leniency on them. To me, this is a suggestion. It suggests that either he is the culprit, that he might have killed Summer, or she died on his watch, or he knows who did it. And he doesn't want to condemn them, even in his words. So maybe his wife is responsible. Maybe Summer ran away while his wife was supposed to be watching her because she was drunk or stoned or just a negligent, unfit mother. So he doesn't want to condemn her for that because he's also negligent. Right? So this indicates, it might not mean that he is responsible, but someone he cares about might be responsible by the fact that he does not want to condemn them even in his words. This is a big red flag, and it's a great law enforcement test.
You're lucky if you get out of there alive.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So would you want to see this person in prison?
I don't know if I could do that, to be honest with you.
That's a strange answer. That's a really bizarre, unexpected answer. And it suggests he knows that something terrible happened to her. And it suggests he knows who did it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be someone as close to him as his wife. It could be a friend, an acquaintance, but suggests he knows who did it. He can't even condemn them with his words.
Yeah, no,
it just depends on all the circumstances, you know. She had to be by me. She just had to be by me.
That's her personality.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, she loves me to death.
She loves me to death. Once again, we have a little bit more leakage about death. So here the hoax would be a false story that Summer was abducted with fake testimony about what happened that day, right? So the hoax, the evidence that's presented to support the hoax is a scripted story or false testimony about what happened. So if the mom was drunk or high or being negligent and Summer wandered off and got lost, the hoax is to say that she wasn't being negligent, she was sober, and Summer ran off when she wasn't paying attention for a few seconds. All right, so that's possible and likely. B is the parents accidentally killed her due to negligence. So they might have tripped on her and knocked a ball on her head, or gotten upset at her and beat her up till she died, or just abused her to the point where she was malnourished, or just gave into the stress of the abuse and died. Right, this is a little girl. So the more I see, he already said when he said bad words to her, it killed her. Now he said she loved me to death. This is the second time we've seen a reference to death when he's talking about his daughter who is allegedly missing or has been kidnapped. Also, the third option is that they hang out with lowlives, drug addicts, drug peddlers, basically scum of the earth. And one of them, they might suspect who, right? So one of them, they hang out with lowlives. They know people. These people have weird proclivities, perversions. And one of those friends was there one night and took her. And they don't want to ruin their relationship with, a potential drug dealer or someone who knows stuff about them who could blackmail them. So they don't want to turn that person in. And so they know someone who actually abducted her, but it's not a stranger kidnapping. And they're withholding that information. And the hoax in that case is that it's a stranger who took her rather than someone they know. That's the piece that they're withholding.
We had such a great love for each other. She loved me, and I don't know why I've never had someone love me that much in my life.
All right, so he's talking about how Summer loved him. So he's talking about his daughter. Notice how he's saying how much she loves him. And as Criminal pointed out, he hasn't said yet that he loved her that way, which might be a little bit of over persuasion that if he was abusing her, that she liked it. And he's trying to convince us she loved me that much. She enjoyed every minute of it. And he's forgetting to tell us what is to be expected, which he tells us how much he loves her. So he's so focused on persuading us that she loved every minute of what he was doing to her that he forgets to tell us how much he loved her back.
Yeah, she had to be by me. She just had to be by me.
That's her personality.
Hi, my name is Dee. Thank you for joining me in this video. Deception Detective forgot one thing about, he forgot the first thing Don referenced about death was the resurrection in his very first interview.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, she loves me to death.
We had such a great love for each other. She loved me, and I don't know why I've never had someone love me that much in my life. And so it's been awesome, between me and her. And so it's killed me.
Once again, it kills me. I'm seeing lots of references to death here. Now, this might just be the way the guy talks. But at this point, I've got 3 poker chips telling me this might be a leakage, that whenever he talks about his daughter, if death pops up, it means he's suppressing the memory of her being dead.
Me, myself, I already got 5 poker chips stuck up, stood up, and raised right here.
She didn't want her mother. She only wanted me. I just couldn't believe it. She only wanted me. I've never had anybody love me like that. She says, but Daddy, I just want to be with you.
All right, all that is very bizarre. Just ask yourself, is that how you would talk about your daughter's love for you? I've never had someone love me like that. I only want to be with you. I don't think children even talk like that. To me, this looks like too much persuasion. Maybe he's telling himself she liked, if he did abuse her, this is him convincing himself that she enjoyed it.
I just always had this feeling that something's going to happen to her. I've always knew that something was going to happen to Summer. It's just something in my gut has always told me.
That is because he knew that he was doing bad things, and someday it had to come to an end, and Summer had to leave there. That's how he knew that. It was not a vision. It was pure cold hard facts, and he knew it.
All right, so when people go on about this, like these premonitions or mystical thoughts of how they knew something, to me, it indicates that they're pushing a narrative. and they don't have evidence to push their narrative, so they appeal to the gullible. So if someone tells you about something that they knew in their gut, just be aware that you're probably being manipulated. Or if they tell you about a dream or a vision they had, your skeptic antennas should be shooting up at that point.
I just always had this feeling that something's going to happen to her. I've always knew that something was going to happen to Summer. It's something in my gut has always told me.
All right, so Summer told her mom, I'm going to go inside and play with my toys. Then out of nowhere, Summer vanished. Is trying to pass the blame onto her siblings for not confirming that she went downstairs. In reality, this is a great indicator of a negligent parent. Someone who does not take responsibility but tries to pass the buck onto others. They don't take responsibility for their own kid.
It's something in my gut has always told me.
Blaming the children.
They're all glued to their damn TV and their games on their phones. He just started crying. I don't even remember what I said to him or what. And he says, Dad, it's not my fault.
So imagine this. The daughter goes missing and he tried to blame the boys to their faces to make them feel like they were responsible. This is a sick person. Imagine if one of your kids goes missing and then the first thing you do is go tell their brother or their sister that it's their fault. That's not what you do if out of love for your children.
You know, when he was crying, I said, I know, son, I know it's not your fault.
What was your other voice saying?
I told my wife that if he would have went downstairs with Summer like she wanted him to, she probably wouldn't be gone.
So even now, he's passively blaming the sons. Well, if he had gone down like Candace told him to, it's not his job to monitor his sister, it's the mother's job. And if she was drunk or high or a negligent, unfit mother, that's her fault.
He feels like he's kind of guilty.
A lot of times the boys would be inside and we'd be like, where's Summer? Why'd you leave her out there alone?
Listen to this coward. But clearly the hoax is not for the benefit of the other siblings, so I'm eliminating them as suspects. That she loved to be outside. So he's trying to passively blame his children and Summer herself for whatever might have happened to her. So this cover-up, he's either covering up for himself, like a coward, or for his wife, or for both of them, because they're both negligent. And if one of them goes down, the other will take the other down. Are actually trying to pass the buck onto their children. There is no redeeming quality possible because he's eliminated that possibility in my mind.
Than me and Candace are. Mm-hmm. Not why that is, but I don't know. She loved to be outside all the time. That was her, unfortunately, her downfall.
She loved to be outside and that was her downfall. So he's actually blaming Summer for what happened to her. That's not a father who would do anything to protect his children. And now we see after Summer went missing, the first thing he did is try to pass the buck onto her siblings. Projection is when someone feels guilty or shame or has an opinion on something that they're ashamed of or embarrassed about, and they project it onto other people. Right? So an insecurity, a shame, a guilt. And what they do is they accuse other people of that thing. Because in their mind, it's so big and so obvious that they simply assume it of other people.
Now let's listen to how Don Wells talked about True, a 13-year-old girl that her mother was a friend of Candace's.
That little girl right there, I think her in the park. That poor little girl, she got a body from hell.
All right. This guy is sick.
Detergents and spice, it's all a game they play. A sad game, a lame game, but the the cost of the little girl's life.